What's up with this internet shit? Scramble TV.
Well, we just came from Frankfurt where they got a mobile command unit sitting up there full of street sweepers. I want to introduce you to a real street sweeper, Mr. Greg Butcheroni.
Hey, what's up, Rich?
What could we do if we had a use of a mobile command unit to put it down at Kensington and Somerset?
Okay, well, I mean, it's a great idea. Kensington and Somerset, I've been an activist in this area for 34 years. And Kensington and Somerset's one of those places that, you know, it's the guardian angels got kicked out of it and got the butts kicked out of it. It's a very, probably in the septic system, that's probably the worst station area throughout the whole city regarding drugs and prostitution and petty crimes and stuff. I mean, what we could do is definitely build a better relationship with the volunteers in the community and the police members of SEPTA and the Philadelphia Police Department, and staff it with volunteers to go out there to help people with different issues in that area.
Greg will be working with us on our ongoing investigation, The Tracks. We started out in the morning, kind of like Rocky's Run, at the foot of the Silver Bridge.
We're here at the start of the viaduct at B and Indiana Avenue, where, as you can see, it's littered with needles and bags and blood-stricken. I don't even know what that is over there, but I think it was funny that there is a pamphlet there that said God's message to you. So, Greg, what can you tell us about your experiences down here in and around the neighborhood?
Well, Rich, you know, we come out here on a regular basis, almost 7 days a week, and this in particular area of Kensington, in the viaducts and the general area above the viaduct. And this is what we bump into. There's needle exchanges, obviously high drugs, high addiction rates in this area near the vicinity of Kensington and Somerset. The needle exchange program is right there, half a block away from Kensington and Somerset. And this is the aftermath, negative quality of life things that impact this community. You got kids running down here, you got runaway kids, delinquent kids, and these are the dangers. Even if they don't do drugs, look at the needles down here. These are the dangers that we face, and this is the dilemma of Kensington.
So in your experiences down here, you know, when you've been down here doing what you're doing all the time down here in the viaducts, what would you say the dangers are to children or even adults?
Well, the dangers, if you look on the ground level, there's exposed needles, used condoms, drugs, gang activity, violent drug dealer activity, prostitution. There's a variety, anything you can imagine that would be a circumstance that would put a young child or an adult at risk is down here. You know, it's one-stop shopping down here, baby. And our thing is that these are the things we're trying to work with city officials, civic-minded officials, and business association officials in reducing and fixing a lot of these things that plague the Kensington area.
Because our point being, we just walked right on to the tracks right here, where there's no fence, there's no nothing. We just walked right on. So any child could have walked right on and walked down this path of needles. This whole path is a path of needles here. You want to take a walk along the viaduct and see the wonderful world of Kensington?
Sure, no doubt, man. This is an everyday thing. Let's go do it.
After you, my man. Tell me some of the stories you have out here patrolling and advocating for the people out here in Kensington.
Sure. Well, I mean, this viaduct right here is a classic example. You know, we got a lot of runaway kids, prostitution, drug sales, drug addicts, runaway kids coming down, kids playing hooky from school, curfew violators, anything you can imagine that would be a problem in the city regarding crime or delinquency, you can find right down here in these tracks.
And it's all in the shadows of all this with the needles and the bags and I mean, we just saw a drug user checking bags, empty bags, to see if there was any little bit left.
Sure. I mean, this happens every day. When you come down here and you see this is every day with new faces, but the same game. As the city's changed in the late 70s going into the mid-80s, crack cocaine was introduced. People moved out. Good residents from the area moved out for the most part and were replaced by residents that really just minded their own business. Even if they were law-abiding citizens, they minded their own business. A lot of them weren't civic-minded. So what happened was, next thing you know, you had where drug dealers were starting to pop up more, crack cocaine, heroin. There was a minimum resistance from the residents. into forming, organizing to get these out of the community.
But we touched base on what we used to do here as kids, playing, sledding, riding bikes. But do you also remember there would be at least 11 tracks across this whole open area, and there was rail cars in every one? You remember that?
Sure. I mean, a lot of times I was down there playing hooky, and the cops that were there, the railroad cops, used to shoot at us and chase us, and
Yeah, the salt pellets.
got hit in the leg with that stuff. Doesn't stay. And what we do is there was a lot of industry, there was a lot of business going on. Security was a whole lot more tighter, and you didn't have all this and Dawn of the Dead back there shooting up in needles. This was a different spot there for an aqueduct. And I remember we used to come down there and play hooky, and the cops for the railroad would come down there and chase us.
Absolutely. Well, now it's been brought down to one track. They use it every day. They take chemicals, I believe, to a corporation at the end of the line down here. But from that point to where they come into the junction, there's no need for any of this.
Well, Kensington's always been a dumping ground. I mean, you got a variety of companies that are still here that are big-time EPA violators. You got, obviously, all the blight that's going on, everything that negatively impacts people's quality of life down here. I mean, it's Kensington is one of those places, kind of like Logan and certain sections of North Philly, they're just a dumping ground. And people come through similarly to that at Camden, and they come through and they bring their hazardous material through here because they'll get least resistance. That's why they keep it. If it wasn't for that hazmat stuff, this would all be totally inoperable. But what happens is they can bring it through certain areas of Philadelphia, it goes unchallenged, and here we are with the blight.
Well, Greg, that's what we hope to establish between our new union here with me and you out here doing what we do. So we're going to see you in the next spot, and we're going to see what goes on after this. We'll see what the aftermath is.
Sure,
all right?
I got you.